talk me through the process here. I mean, somebody out here, in fact, I suspect a lot of people out here have got a tremendous product, a tremendous service that they believe can make real change within the NHS. Now, what is the process by which they can quickly get a decision from the system, as it were, as to whether is there a pilot? Do you commission a pilot, and then what's the process for rolling it out after the pilot?
Right. We've got various things to offer, a menu of things actually. I mentioned the ITAP initiative. That is, as many of you will know, an initiative whereby if you have a good invention or a system and you believe it's one that really will be capable of being rolled out more widely across the NHS, submit it to the ITAP team. It will be evaluated, and there is a process for promulgating the technology across the NHS from the centre. That's one thing. We've got the innovation hubs and innovation funds regionally. Last year, 10 times oversubscribed, actually, those funds. So there's no shortage of people out there who believe they can benefit. I mean, one classic example of a system that came out of that was the telestroke technology, which is already being widely used in the Northwest, whereby a stroke physician can remotely diagnose a patient at any time of day or night from the physician's own home, from a laptop. Very, very powerful technology, and saving lives, directly saving lives. There are the innovation prizes, which we've launched to challenge the health service to come up with good ideas and get directly rewarded for them. There is NHS evidence. If you have a proven technique, it will be there on NHS evidence, which is under the auspices of NICE, as I'm sure you know. So there are a number of, I hope, useful devices that are out there. Again, that we have set up over the last 2 or 3 years. The previous government set up many of them, and we're running with them, that I hope will make a real difference.
And are you completely satisfied that you have cracked the problem of bureaucracy, that somebody wouldn't here, as a result of what you said, submit an idea, 3 months later they either hadn't got a response, or they got a holding letter, and just stick with us, and in 3 months, I mean, that kind of thing, which does happen.
I'm as sure as I can be that the team who are responsible for the innovation agenda generally in my department are top quality people. They are not going to let that happen. They want as much as anyone to see this work. And I think those of you who have met the team, Jim Easton, Miles Ayling and others, would be similarly confident.
Okay, let's throw it open to the floor. Any questions from the floor that you would like to put to Lord Howe? Don't be shy if you've got a question, and don't feel that your question might not be important, because it almost certainly is. Gentleman here at the front, and then we'll take the gentleman at the back next. Anyone on this side? Okay, right. Sir, your question, please.
Lord Howe, I'm from UK Trade and Investment in Chicago, and you've touched a little bit on how people can access the NHS. I'm sure you appreciate at the moment, for companies that want to set up in the UK, create jobs here, and supply our health service, it is a rather complex landscape. They can approach the Foundation Trust, the PCTs, respond to tenders, etc. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be an effort to streamline from the investor's perspective how to access the NHS, whether the new Foundation Trusts, that there will be a drive to instill a culture to speak to these companies who ultimately not only want to supply the NHS but want to create jobs too.
You've identified an area that is, I suppose, in a way systemically difficult, in that we have hundreds of different trusts. We will in the future have several hundred GP-led consortia. The challenge is, how on earth does a company access all those other than by going one by one to each? I think my answer there would be on perhaps 2 levels. First, sometimes it's a procurement issue. Procurement is an area of real difficulty around the NHS. We do have the NHS supply chain, which I'm convinced is the right model if we want to drive value and innovation through procurement. But what I think you're talking about much more is uptake of innovative ideas and technologies in the NHS more widely. For the first time, if Parliament approves, we will have an NHS commissioning board. That is a big development, because people will be able to, at last, to identify where the NHS sits. At the moment, the NHS sits in its trusts, in its PCTs, in its strategic health authorities, and it will continue to do that, but it will also have an identity at board level. And I'm convinced that greater consistency and quality of commissioning and greater opportunities for setting examples throughout the health service can be generated through the NHS Commissioning Board once it's set up. The board will be informed by NICE, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, who will be charged with producing quality standards for a whole range of clinical conditions. Those quality standards will underpin the commissioning guidance issued by the board downwards to the commissioning consortia. Therefore, we will be, through that process, instilling quality and innovation into the patient pathway as much as we possibly can. Of course, it will not be mandated. We should never tell clinicians exactly how they should do things. The whole point is for them to do this themselves. We mustn't second guess that, but we can show best practice. So I think over the years ahead, we will see much greater opportunity to drive these new good ideas from the centre downwards than we have before. And of course, devices like NHS Evidence, anyone can log on to NHS Evidence, recommend that you do it. I did it yesterday. It's a very, very powerful system that will navigate you through almost any area of clinical concern that you choose. So that will also develop.